blue go live button, which has just turned blue. Click. And we're live. It is Saturday, June 19th, 2021. Kate is in a car. She's moving. She's going to introduce us to the other occupants of the car momentarily. Scott is in his usual Scott place, his library with the guitar in the background. I am back in Washington, D.C., where the possibility of a major D.C. thunderstorm looms above us. It is one of those days we are not allowed to have fun anymore. And for those of you who took me seriously when I said it was just Kate Saturday, we would never leave Kate on her own, though she left us on our own yesterday. There was we came pretty close to having 3 Kates scheduled and not one show up. A single Kate showed up for yesterday's show. It was not Kate Klonick. And we're going to make jokes about that consistently throughout the show, that this was Kate's first total no-show. I even have the text message where she said she was going to join from the airport for the first half hour. Kate flaked on the show, and I gotta say, this is something I have never done. Scott has never done. Wait, you gotta unmute yourself. That's the thing about keeping muted when you're not talking, Scott, is unmuting when you are talking.
I gotcha, but I will say, we are gonna laugh and joke about this, but in truth, it comes from a position of real pain.
That's true. We were hurt. We were hurt.
A lot nicer.
You have described this show as a trust fall, and I felt like you
dropped
let
us
fall.
Yeah.
You dropped us. But we're going to laugh about it, and it's going to be ha ha ha. But
you have a bruised tailbone.
If only it were bruised, and if only it were my tailbone.
He felt like a false morel being confused with a false morel, totally inundated with ants. That's how Scott fell yesterday, Kate.
That's how bad.
I was in the airport going through TSA and trying to make my flight, and just utterly forgot that it was that all of a sudden the daily 5 o'clock 4:50 was replaced by a boarding, we are imminently boarding now, and it is 4:50.
This is a vision of your future. You are going to forget commitments that you have made 448 days in a row because there's a fucking boarding announcement.
I have that thing sometimes about forgetting about family members when it's 4:50 because there's something I have to do. But so it's a ubiquitous problem. It's not just you, Kate.
It's totally understandable.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that happens in our modern age. The next thing you know, lambs are being birthed without you. Cormorants are left to die in the coves, and sea turtles in shock are just shocked to death because you don't pick them up and warn them because it's 4:50 and there's a boarding announcement. We are not allowed to have fun anymore, but it is just a Saturday, and we're just razzing Kate because it is Kate Week. It is Kate Week, and when Kate doesn't show up on Kate Week, you gotta run with the comedy of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I will just quickly flip my camera and show you where I am.
Yeah, please introduce us to your to the other members of the van.
This is we're in the van. This is the back of John's head. This is the back of my mother's head. This is the back of my brother's head. This is the back.
So let me translate that for everybody who is troubled by the breaking up of Kate's. What she said is, this is the back of John's head, and John waved. And then she said, this is the back of my mother's head. And then she said, this is the back of my brother's head. And then she said, and this is the part that I'm pretty sure you all didn't catch. She said, this is the back of Hannah's head. And I believe, but I'm not sure, that Hannah is Kate's sister-in-law. But I'm not sure about that. When Kate's bandwidth improves, we can grill her about the identity of Hannah. At some point, Kate's going to figure out that she's breaking up and, we can't really hear her. But I did the simultaneous translation there. It was like, the guy who does the translation for Putin and Biden. I did the translation for the In Lieu of Fun audience and Kate's family here. And I'm kind of proud of how I performed in that role. You got to unmute yourself, Scott.
I'm new to video technology. It's only been like 470 days or something.
Yeah.
No,
it's amazing what one beer will do to fuck that up.
Yeah, like it's actually a half. But the way in which Kate's voice started to slow, it had a kind of nice indie feel to it, and then it just got weird.
Yeah, and so that's why we have a simultaneous translation for this. So you guys thought this was just Kate Saturday. It's actually just Make Fun of Kate Saturday.
That's right.
It's really like, and she's figuring this out now and is like, I'm so out of here. I'm going to use these tech problems to... look, I've got an announcement to make about the future of the show. I know you guys have been pressuring us for announcements about what the show is going to do when things return to normalish. I want to keep you guys posted about where things are going on the show. Hello, Kate. I don't know how much of that you heard, but we've decided it's not just Kate Saturday. It's just Make Fun of Kate Saturday. And so we're just working on that. You have whatever tech problems you're going to have. You're the butt of every joke today, because that's what happens on Saturday of Kate Week traditionally.
Oh, good. This is like cheese night.
It's like cheese night.
Actually, I have a very serious announcement about cheese night I need to make. But Ben, you had a big announcement to make.
Well, I think we should. I mean, the cheese night announcement is a bigger deal than what I was going to do. So why don't you go first?
Okay, I'll go first.
Cheese night trumps, no pun intended, mere announcements about the future of the show.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, that's right. I'm glad you saw it right away. So I had originally said that I knew a lot of cheesemakers.
Was that a bald-faced lie?
No, it was an honest misunderstanding. I heard it wrong. It turns out they're corporate lawyers, not cheesemakers.
Yeah. You can see how those two phrases would blend together.
So it turns out that, like, when I asked them how to make ricotta, they were like, what? They only do document production in big law firms.
Yeah.
I will go and find cheesemakers. It's just that I don't actually have the stock of cheesemakers that I thought I had. Well, if there's any corporate law work you need done,
So Scott, first of all, I actually do make my own curds. I know how to make curds. Yes. And so if you want tomorrow or Monday a curd making demonstration,
can I say you contain multitudes, Ben?
I don't know how to make cheese out of the curds, but I do know.
We can do that.
But I know how to make curds. And I can demonstrate that on the show.
And then I can take it to the next step. Just tell me what I need. Just like milk?
Well, you have to start with curds. Sorry, go ahead, Kate.
I'm just so glad that we're getting to fill out this gap in our knowledge of cheese night.
You know what the byproduct is when you make curds?
Whey.
Correct. Which is why Little Miss Muffet is eating curds and whey, because they're actually the product of the same chemical reaction which takes place when you take milk and you bring it to a boil, and then you add in a small amount of lemon juice or yogurt, and the milk shatters into curds and whey. And then you take cheesecloth, which is why it's called cheesecloth, and you strain the curds from the whey, and you get your pressed curds, which in Indian food is called paneer.
Wait, I want to know, like, Scott, did you really never, like, do this in, like, high school chemistry or biology class? Like, I remember.
I mean, he knows how to make mozzarella. He's the bougie version of this. He's never done the actual production of curds.
I think you're putting your finger on why our country is lagging in STEM. Because like our kids are not learning
how to make curds.
Curds. I mean,
or even how to pronounce corporate lawyer.
Or corporate lawyer. You're right. Cheesemakers. I mean, they have the same syllables and they begin with the same letter. It's not my fault.
I mean, is this the part where we make jokes about there being Syrian curds and Iraqi curds and Turkish curds?
No, we don't.
We're not making those jokes.
We didn't even go there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we didn't even go there. But I will just say that this will be, for me, one of the most special in Lieu of Fun shows. Because in so many ways, I feel like Kate and I have been hampered on cheese night by not being able to control our curd supply.
All right, so that'll be Monday's show. Actually, it's curd night, which it's useful to do this in advance of cheese night, because if you do Monday curd night, then you have enough curds for Friday cheese night.
Does it have to do any? I forget how long it takes between like doing the process, and then there's no like wait between, like the curds don't need time to like.
Well, they need a little bit of time to let all the whey drain out but like I don't actually know anything about cheese making except in the very Indian sense of like, making ras malai or matar paneer or palak paneer or something. I know how to make paneer, but I don't know, and I think I know how to make cottage cheese. Not that I've ever done it, but just kind of like draining off most of the whey, but letting the curds kind of float around in it is basically cottage cheese.
I know this, by the way, I love this idea, but number two, have you ever noticed how we don't eat cottage cheese anymore?
Yeah, it's kind of like we don't have fun anymore.
I love cottage cheese.
But in lieu of cottage cheese, we have, fancy shit like ricotta.
Everyone in the band is laughing because I just announced loudly that I love cottage cheese. And they have to the conversation.
All right, we are now 15 minutes in, and I have not yet delivered the major announcement about the future of the show. But I think that's going to become the sort of conceit of the show, that the major announcement kind of keeps not happening. So is this Friday, since Monday is going to be curd night, is this Friday the night we are ultimately going to have cheese night?
I really think it's all really depends on Monday night. I mean, if Monday night, happens in the way we're imagining, I think Friday is like so teed up.
Okay, so
perfectly.
dude, I have made curds and whey many times. It's gonna work. It's not like it's
What
like
if it doesn't work for us?
Yeah. Oh, I feel like we're shit talking curds and whey.
okay. Can I just say, like, it's not fucking hard. I'm gonna send you a list of ingredients.
Okay.
We're all gonna do the same thing. It's gonna work. It never doesn't work. That's why, when you go to an Indian restaurant and you order, palak paneer, they never come out and say, sir, the curds didn't work tonight. It literally never happens. They don't say, we tried to curdle the milk and we failed at it.
The curd machine. The curd machine is down.
Right, it just doesn't happen, and there's a reason for that, which is that it works. So we're gonna make curds on Monday, and that means, Scott, we have your commitment for cheese night on Friday.
Yeah. I will get an actual cheesemaker, and not just somebody whose name sounds like cheesemaker.
All right, good, and they're gonna be. We just want to be clear that cheesemaker for Friday may also be a corporate lawyer, but their principal qualification to make cheese will not be having gone to Yale Law School.
We're not going to discriminate against corporate lawyers,
right? Because some of the best cheesemakers have had like day jobs. None of them have, but okay.
Yeah, sure.
We're holding out the possibility.
Okay, so
I
we
actually
have
might know someone. If you can't find someone, Scott.
I would say that in a spirit of generosity, I would accept your person.
Oh, okay.
If you knew somebody, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Let's
All right. So second question: if we are going to have curd night on Monday, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and cheese night on Thursday, that leaves Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I feel like we should have maybe we should have lamb prosciutto night on Tuesday, where Kate sets up another lamb prosciutto. I don't mean to assign you.
Why would you do that to me? You know how I feel about lamb now, Ben.
Okay, some other prosciutto you want to some other. Maybe this should be like home cooking week.
Okay, so I would just say I went to the market and I got 3 pounds of young fava beans, and I can make my killer.
Your fava bean.
Yeah, my Ligurian fava bean paste recipe. I could definitely do that.
So this could be guestless cooking week, where we start with, because you're going to be on the Cape, right, Kate?
I could totally do that.
Could we have an oystering or clamming day?
Totally. I could totally do that. That would be
fun. And you could we could have fava bean day.
Yeah.
And I think the goal is every day one of us is doing something in the kitchen and the other two are making fun of him or her.
Or being being supportive.
No.
No, okay.
No, like being supportive by making fun.
Okay. You're right.
Be quiet, Ben. I'm with you.
Okay.
Oh, Daniel's got it right. It's Munch Week on In Lieu of Fun, in honor of Janine. I think I should text Janine about that. Janine. It seems to be. There's still some cicadas. But it's definitely dying down. All right, so instead of planning this specifically now by day, let's just say Monday's curd day, Friday is cheese night, of course, because Friday is traditionally cheese night. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I should get Thursday because I will have done Monday. And so I think just each of them is like kitchen day for... Do you want to take Tuesday kitchen day for Scott's?
Sure.
Scott, do you want Tuesday?
Wednesday's better for me because Wednesday's a clamming day.
Okay, so Wednesday, we're going to do...
We should
This
tell
is
that
fun.
story, Scott. The story where people tricked you about telling you that you needed a license, and then I was like, no, you totally do need a license, and it was very funny. I thought that was a weird story.
Well, yeah, I mean, so it turns out that Kate has done a lot of clamming, and I had never done clamming, and so...
But you were in a different place. You were like in Canada. Nova Scotia.
Also, he was an Orthodox Jew.
Well,
one thing Orthodox Jews suck at is clamming. It's just
that is so true.
It's just not a thing.
You're right. Yeah. So, like, my education was deficient in many ways. One of them was that we didn't learn how to do ricotta in bio, and the other one was we never learned how to clam. And so
I remember as a kid in Orthodox Jewish school, when I was really young, having my parents read me One Morning in Maine, which actually involves clamming, and and being completely fascinated by it, and it's a beautiful, beautiful children's book, and by the same guy who did Blueberries for Sal. But it's like not, it's not all of his stories are about his kids, and these are, this was just like fascinating as a kid who like was at an Orthodox Jewish day school, through second grade, like, wow, there's these clam rakes that are specially for digging clams. It's like, this is shit we didn't know.
No, right. This was like kind of dark magic paraphernalia.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a bong.
Right. My sister grew up. Her kids, my niece and nephews, they grew up in a very religious part of Passaic, and the children's books that they had were like really funny, because it would be like the sheep would be smiling and the pig would be frowning because the sheep was kosher and could be eaten by the kids.
Yeah, whereas in fact the smile was that, like, the old first century joke. I only know one first century joke, but this one is reported in Josephus, so it's real. It's a genuine first century joke. It's better to be a pig in Herod's palace than a member of his family. And this was because Herod the Great murdered a whole lot of members of his family, but the pigs were safe. So this is actually a pretty good joke.
Right. First of all, that is a really good joke, certainly for first century AD, where recognitional humor hadn't been invented yet. So that was like that's a big thing. But also number two, so in the Talmud they say that pigs, when they sleep with their hooves up, because they're trying to convince you that they're kosher so that you'll eat them.
This is the only good joke in the Talmud.
But so the thing is, to be kosher, you have to have split hooves and chew your cud. But pigs only have split hooves; they don't chew their cud. So in the Talmud, they said that pigs sleep with their hooves up.
It's kind of like Leonard Nimoy,
Right. They're trying to show you that they have split hooves, so therefore you can eat them. But in fact, they don't chew their cud, so you can't eat them. But the psychology of this is really backwards, it seems to me, because I think you would be less happy.
Yeah.
Right. In fact,
isn't the lamb the sad one? And
exactly.
Right, the lambs
I
lie
will say that,
down with their with their fake hooves, their non-cloven hoof booties lying up so that you'll think they are not kosher. All right. We now have the show entirely planned for the week. We got no guests. It's munch week in honor of Janine Balechian. And we're fucking all planned. All right, should we get to the big announcements?
Yeah, but before you do that, I have another announcement I'd like to make.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt your big announcement, but I have another.
No. I think we got a shtick going here where the big announcement's going to get, and now like we're going to get people wondering if there really even is a big announcement.
I'm just saying I have another big announcement to make. So
go for it.
So it turns out that assuming that everything goes right, I will be going to Las Vegas for a week at the beginning of August to attend Black Hat and DEF CON, and I would like to have this be like me covering DEF CON and Black Hat for in lieu of fun. Like
I think that's definitely happening.
Okay, good. Okay.
That's
So I'll be like our Las Vegas correspondent.
Yeah. Live from Las Vegas. We are
Las
not allowed to have fun anymore.
Right.
But in lieu of fun, we have fucking DEF CON
Right.
with all of which is like going to Tailhook instead of in lieu of fun. Instead of fun.
I don't know.
It's where, it's like a cesspool of sexual harassment and...
Okay. I got you. Okay. But we're not going to be... We're keeping this family style.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we could maybe, if we have some friends who in the cybersecurity community who will be there, maybe we could have them on with me in Las Vegas as part of...
I think your job in all of these episodes is to bring a hacker.
Okay.
And so we'll have like which week is this?
It'll be the week of August, like 4th through the 11th or something.
So it'll be like we'll have a segment for each of the, Scott talks to a hacker, and we'll see whether they're like really kind of pimply-faced, mal-fitted teenagers who are, or whether they're actually like sociable and, quasi-human.
I think hackers are like celebrities, are like you and me. They go to Starbucks. They walk with their kids.
They have cheese night.
They have cheese night.
We should have a hacker see if he or she can make cheese.
Right. This is layering things, which I may not be able to pull off. But definitely that's another big announcement of mine, which was that I was going to be in Las Vegas, a correspondent for DEF CON Black Hat Week.
That's great. So I was about to make the announcement, the big announcement about the future of the show. But the sudden appearance of Christopher Argyris has created... I can't get ahead of Christopher. So, Christopher, the floor is yours. And again, we will push off the announcement until Christopher's done.
Okay. Greek chorus, tell me if you want me to force them to give the big announcement in front of my question. But probably not. I know it's part of the bit, so I'll go along with the game here. So my question is actually something that I had asked, I think, Scott about back in 2017, before I virtually knew any of you guys, since I had heard him speak at a talk in London, and I asked him about, at that time I was still in the middle of doing my PhD in law, and I was sort of wondering what I could do with it outside of academia, because if there's two things I knew I didn't want to do with a PhD, it was be in academia or be in like a policy think tank type thing.
Basically, what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm the only one in a policy think tank.
No,
You guys
there
are
was a-
actually academics.
No, but he said the two things he didn't want to do was academia or policy.
Oh,
Think
I
tank.
see. I see.
A policy like a
So like us.
think tank. So
Yeah.
I guess my question is, I know Ben, we've brought up PhD before, and I guess the overall question is, do you think that there's any advantage or added utility to having a PhD in the job market, the non-academic job markets, where in fields where a PhD is not required, or do you think it's just sort of like something that's its only utility is in academia or a like policy think tank?
Interesting question, Kate. What do you think? What's the value of the PhD in the non-academic, non-think tank market?
I mean, then you're just either in government or industry, right? Like, am I wrong about like the kind of like, I mean, and yeah, I guess, I mean, in most places you can command a greater salary by having a PhD, or it's required to hit certain levels of like, it depends on like, I mean, I'm trying to think of the people I know that have PhDs, and most of them are in hard STEM that work in industry. I don't know about government. I guess that's kind of not as likely to like, that you don't have to, it wouldn't be a STEM degree so much as something else. But I don't know, I wouldn't it seems like, listen, I kind of got my PhD and I kind of got my law degree thinking it was only going to open doors to jobs that I wanted to do. And if I was going in and 50% of the jobs that I wanted to do were jobs that were created by me doing this degree, like lengthy and expensive degree program, I wouldn't have done it. Does that make sense?
Scott, what do you think? What's your view of, other than the background noise? What's your view of the value of PhDs outside of academia?
So I would just say that's a great question, and I was hoping that Kate had the answer to it, or maybe Ben, you do, because I would love to know what the answer to that is, because I get asked this question a lot. And I will say that the one piece of advice I do give to people who are considering getting a PhD as a job qualification, that is maybe STEM fields are different. I would just say, at least in the humanities or anything that's not STEM, it's a very hard thing to do. Writing a dissertation is a very difficult, grueling, unpleasant experience. Not because it's so hard, though it is hard, but has its own format. It has its own kind of requirements. What I tell my students all the time is that it's a really long homework assignment. And like, if you're not willing, if you're trying to just check a box by doing this incredibly long homework assignment, you're going to be miserable. And so, but I'm not sure what the efficacy of it is.
So, here's my thought on the subject. I think people think too hard about what their next degree should be, and not hard enough about what they want to do next. And that seems to me to be exactly the wrong order of operations. And that a lot of the time, the right way to think about it is, all right, what do I want to do next in my life? And to ask yourself the question of whether the absence of a particular degree is preventing you from doing the thing that you want to do next. If it's not, there's no generic answer to what value a PhD has in the non-market, in the non-academic market. There is an answer to the question of whether the absence of a PhD is preventing you, the individual who's thinking about it, from doing the thing that you want to do. And I think the answer to the question is, if you are not being held back by the absence of a degree, getting a degree is purely a matter of some combination of vanity or loving being a student, or it's being driven by something other than professional need, and I think that's silly, but that just reflects my own prejudices. I think if the answer to the question is you are being held back by the absence of a PhD in the things that you want to do, then you should go get a PhD. And but I think a lot of people ask the question in reverse order, which is, I'm X age, I'm at this point in my career, what's the degree I need next? Rather than what's preventing me from doing the things that I want to do. And I get this a lot from the young people I work with, interns and young research assistants. They just come to me assuming they need a second degree or a third degree or a fourth degree. And they don't ask the question, well, sort of, where do I want to be 8-10 years from now, and what is the list of things that's holding me back from that? And I think it's not their fault. They've been brought up in an environment in which everybody assumes that a bachelor's degree isn't good enough, and they've been taught to think that way. But it's a lot of the time that it's wrong, and you see this particularly in the IT space, where a bachelor's degree is plenty good enough to do, to make a very good living in all kinds of areas related to programming and development and stuff. But in the humanities and some of the hard sciences, and so we just walk in with the assumption that you can't do that. And I am living proof that that's bullshit. And I think that a lot of people should actually take the time, both because the opportunity costs are very substantial and because the direct costs are very substantial, of sinking 6-8 years of your life into PhD work, as well as because the dissertation is for most people, a horrendous waste of time. It's material that will never be published. It's a very large amount of work that amounts, as Scott derisively says, to a homework assignment. I'm not really into homework that you can't do anything with, and I think a lot of people just walk into PhD programs without really a sense of why they're doing it, except that everybody expects them to, including themselves, which is, so I would say there's no generic answer to this question. The answer to the question is highly particular to the circumstances, and before you sink 6-8 years of your life into it, actually examine the specific circumstances. What are the things you want to do with your life, and are the people who are doing those things all telling you that you need a PhD in order to do them? Paula, I was about to make the major announcement and you popped up on the screen to interrupt me. I'm shocked at it's really offensive, this interruption, but I don't want to be rude by preventing you from making your point. But don't do that again.
It would be rude if on the 1-week anniversary of me joining the Crowdcast, you would say that there would no longer be a Crowdcast.
That's right. That is not going to be the announcement.
Okay, great. So I hope I can articulate this well enough that I don't sound asinine. Because all
right, Scott. So when Paula finishes, you burst in and say, "That's asinine," whatever she says. Okay.
You might say that.
You didn't have to tell me.
He sounds like my professors. Okay. So I have a question about the consent of the governed clause in the Declaration of Independence, because I'm thinking, this is what I think about in my free time. Outside of violent means, it doesn't really make sense. I know the Declaration of Independence isn't legally binding, but as a philosophical, as a legal concept or as a political philosophy, because I can't think of a way that there would be a legal mechanism in a government to absolve itself. Or I'm just thinking logically, where I might be making a lot of wrong jumps here. If a government were to recognize that it had faulted, the governed, right, the citizenry, in effect, that would seem to be the last resort, and that to skip all these steps before it wouldn't make sense. If that makes any sense, that question.
Scott, I believe you have a line in response.
Actually, I was gonna. I have a completely different angle on this. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, that's like asinine.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. No. Okay, I'm sorry, but let me just see if I get the thing. Are you saying that the idea of consent to the government is itself a kind of a fictitious idea?
Right. It doesn't, when you think about it, like, I just can't imagine where, if it got to the point, right, where the governed had said that we want to abolish the government, the legal mechanism for that would require the government acknowledging that, which seems to miss all the things that would come before it, right?
I'm sorry. So, what are some of the things that you imagine would come before it?
So, if a government has acknowledged that its citizenry feels like it has the right to abolish the government, not only is it now listening to the citizenry, which kind of nullifies the claim that they aren't, right, that they're not respecting the rights of the citizens, but you would assume that if someone were to make that grand claim, that they would be willing to do these smaller steps to adjust before that.
So what you're saying is that, like, in the case of the American Revolution, that it seems as if, like, the revolutionaries were a bit precipitous, like they should have slowed down.
No, I'm saying, like, now, let's say, for example, right now, if there were a mechanism, right, like without war, I'm saying in a peaceful sense, it wouldn't make sense in a peaceful manner for that to occur, because if American Revolution, like, they went up to King George and said, we would like to remove ourselves or destroy the government, you would think before saying yes or using the legal mechanism, there might have been another point where they would have acknowledged that. Does that make any sense? No, this is where I really am.
Scott, isn't this kind of just like isn't this just kind of the idea of, like, well, if you have a bad enough government, you're always a bad enough government, you can just leave? Like, in such a case, something would be, right? Like, that there would be, like, or that there would be, if there was something really, truly wrong, that you can just, or am I wrong, Paula? Am I misunderstanding?
Well, I'm thinking, like, the clause, if I'm correct, says the right to abolish the government, not only leave, but to remove people from, right? So, does that make sense?
Yeah, can I just say one thing, by the way? I think your point, maybe I misunderstand you, but I think you're putting your finger on, like, a really deep issue, which is that on the
way too much.
Okay, but this is a formulation of a worry that I think you're having. But if I'm not, just let me know. It's like, on the one hand, we think that the basis of authority that the government has over the citizenry is consent. We have individual rights. We give up those rights to act on our own private judgment to the government, and the government will in turn obey certain constraints, except the fact that there is no mechanism in the law, in any legal system ever that existed, where you could opt out of the law.
Like, you could, what I mean. It doesn't work, right?
Yeah, right. It doesn't work at all. Like, that
I tried to Google it.
Right. No, that is the one thing that can't happen. like let's say if you're like you go and you violate the law and an officer comes up and says, I'm sorry, you're violating the law, and you're like, oh no, you don't get it, I don't consent. That's just not going to work. And the thing is, it's not just not going to work in any particular case. It's like doesn't happen in any case. Now there are certain kind of very fine, they're very kind of narrowly crafted exceptions for conscientious objection for certain types of things.
But the law contemplates that. It's
right,
not
exactly.
It's not that the law accommodates those citizens. It doesn't exempt them.
Right,
so
exactly.
That's what I mean. There is no, maybe I don't have the proper legal vocabulary to be able to Google that concept, or it's just possible that it's too abstract to Google. But it doesn't make sense as a legal mechanism. It makes sense maybe as a philosophy, but there is no way for that to be something within a government's authority to do.
Right. Yeah, so this is the problem, like in some way, of the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is an
illegal
amendment
to the Articles of
Confederation.
Yeah.
And in some sense, that is true for every single legal system ever. With probably with the exception of Iceland, where they find really an empty plot of land. But every type of new system is going to violate the rules of the previous system, and it's a really this is called the principles of revolutionary legality. It's actually a very interesting part of legal philosophy. That
so
people
I posed that to I was an undergraduate student, so it wasn't an actual law class, to an IR professor. That was the recognition of the treaty recognizing the United States as a government doesn't make sense, because don't treaties require a government? So I don't understand. Does that question make sense?
So that international law has a very elegant solution to, which is a test by which other states acknowledge a government. And that's an objective test, and the United States clearly meets it. And it doesn't ask the question of, one of the components of that test is not whether the government seized power by means legal under the previous system, right? It asks, does it have control of the territory? Does it, in fact, it asks a set of objective questions. And if it does, then, you recognize that government. It's not whether you like the government, it's not. And so that problem has a solution. The transition between regimes, as Scott points out, is a much trickier business.
Right, yeah. Although there is a process where one state breaks away from another state with the consent of the previous state, so like Rhodesia or something like that from the British Empire, and that is called autochthony. And I just wanted to say that because I love that word.
Because it's a good, because that's one really important way of establishing hierarchy within the in lieu of fun community is to pronounce words that other people don't know, including your co-host.
Okay, but autochthony is
it's an awesome word. It's a great word.
It's a great word, So
E.G. Phillips, you have also barged in impertinently in order to prevent me from making the big announcement.
Always glad to be here in the service of the bit.
Yeah, so what word do you want to pronounce, because it sounds awesome?
Yeah.
Phantasmagoria.
That's a good word.
Yeah, it is a great word.
Yes.
What's on your mind?
So, one of our esteemed members of the Greek chorus, Dr. Rose Flaherty, I don't believe we've had the pleasure of having her on screen, or at least I haven't met her, but she had a suggestion regarding the theme song that I thought this would be a good opportunity to socialize, as they say in certain circles, those that I avoid traveling in, probably. But she was thinking that it would be fun to create a video, similar perhaps to the Bohemian Rhapsody version that the Muppets did, back in the day, where each member of the Greek chorus would take on a line, or members of the Greek chorus would take on a line from the song and sing it and create a big video montage type of thing.
So how about this? If you pull that off and make that actually happen, and I think each member of the Greek chorus should...
This was the danger of me evangelizing it.
Should lip sync it.
My project. So
right. I think it should be lip synced to you singing it, honestly. But if you can pull that off, I will play that before and we're live on every edition of the show. I'm still trying to figure out how to pipe it in so that it comes in while, it'll be like the song starts.
I can definitely provide you with the media file if that helps.
Yeah, so I can download that from the other place, the place where you posted it, but I haven't figured out how to just kind of have it playing in the background, except maybe to point my mic at my speaker, and then we would have like serious feedback, Scott Shapiro-like issues. So I got to figure that out, but I'm totally committed to having it run at the beginning of the show.
Okay. I did want to address a point that Lisa had made in the chat in terms of people who are worried about their singing abilities, which is there is an opportunity for the non-singers just to shout the word norms, so we can have a big...
Yeah, so we can have everybody shouting norms at the same time. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yes. So
I'm going to assign you that piece of work. Ducks with Pants has taken on a new assignment for us, for which we are endlessly grateful. And Christopher Chomiuk, who I don't believe has ever been on screen before, the floor is yours.
Hi, my question is actually for Kate.
I don't think Kate's here anymore. I think she drove into an area with no cell coverage and turned into a clam. But what's your question? Nice boats in the background, by the way.
Thank you. Going for a run around the lake. So I got out of the military in the last year, and I'm a full-time student at this point, trying to go into neuroscience. And I was aware that I was pleasantly surprised to find out that Kate had some background in it, or at least she studied it at some point.
Yes.
And I was hoping to pick her brain.
Well, so I think that's a great idea. But I can't help you because unlike Woody Allen in that Marshall McLuhan scene in Annie Hall, I don't have Kate Klonick right here. And so you could pick Scott's brain, but he doesn't have a background in neuroscience.
Yeah, but I just want to say how disappointed I am for you that you had the right to expect that at least on a Just Kate show that she would at least appear.
Right.
So I just, we'll joke about it, but in fact, I think it's hurtful.
Yeah. So how about this? Come back next Saturday, at which point Kate will be in a more stable location, and we reserve a bit of Kate's time for you at that point.
Yeah, I'll be back.
All right. Sounds good. All of which brings us to the big announcement. Oh, wait a minute. Mr. Dan Welch, you have
I cannot believe this is happening every single time.
It's every single time.
It's uncanny. I mean...
Well, all right. Your question, sir.
In recent episodes, you've displayed your prowess at reciting poetry, Ben. I'm wondering if there's some favorite. Maybe you could do the announcement in a poetic form.
In verse? I cannot improvise rhyming couplets. I know people who can, and as we have seen demonstrated on this show, the great Hannah Neprash can in fact improvise limericks on any subject in real time. If you doubt that, go back to the episode where Hannah Neprash was the guest, and at the end of the episode, I assigned her a topic to do a limerick, and she frickin' did it on the spot. I cannot improvise poetry. I will point out that, like, Shelley saw a street performer who could improvise poetry that he regarded as one of the great, he regarded this guy as literally a street performer, as in a category with Shakespeare in genius. And the work is entirely improvisational, and none of it was written down. So there are, I believe, people who can do incredible improvisational work. I ain't one of them. But I do have favored lines of memorized poetry. And since we are talking about rhyming couplets, I don't know why, I will point out that my favorite extended verse in rhyming couplets is the wonderful poem by Jonathan Swift, all of which seems to be a meditation on the maxim of de Rochefoucauld, in the adversity of our closest friends, we find something that does not entirely displease us. And he wrote an extended poem, all in rhyming couplets, on the theme of this, which was basically imagining the reaction of his friends to his death. And I love it very, very dearly. I will just I actually know it's very long, and I only know sections of it, but this is my favorite from the introduction. We all behold with envious eyes our equal raised above our size. Who would not at a crowded show stand high himself and keep others low? I love my friend as well as you, but I wouldn't have him stop my view. Then let him have the higher post. I ask for but an inch at most. Dear honest Ned is in the gout, lies racked with pain, and you without. How patiently you hear him groan. How glad the case is not your own. On the spot, that's about the best I can do. There's about, hundreds and hundreds of lines of that poem. They are all funny. And so look it up. It's called Verses on the Death of Dr. Swift by Jonathan Swift. And this brings us... So this interruption is by the subject of half of the subject of our announcement today. So the announcement is that we have recruited 1.5 new co-hosts for In Lieu of Fun. So many people in the Greek chorus have rhapsodized about Genevieve de la Fera's questions to guests that Kate and I asked her to join the crew of co-hosts, and she has agreed. We have also asked Alina Polyakova, who did not agree because she's very busy, but did agree to be a occasional co-host and do it on a as needed as can basis. And so we have now added 2 people to our roster. And Genevieve, do you have any? Do you have a prepared statement on the subject?
Not yet, but just thank you very much for this opportunity, and hopefully the questions quality will not go down.
We are very excited about this. And Scott, sorry, go ahead.
I would just say that, first of all, welcome, and also she has to take the minutes now.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
yes.
Scott no longer has to take the minutes.
Okay,
and when there's a new, in our meetings, when somebody has to go get coffee now, it is Genevieve, not Scott anymore. It's kind of like the Supreme Court that way. If anybody knocks on the door, it's the junior person who has to. So Genevieve, it's all you now.
I don't make the rules.
I'm prepared.
All right. With that, thank you, Genevieve. with that, we are going to wrap up the show. It was just Kate Saturday, except it's really just everybody except Kate. Just not Kate. I don't know what we should call this. Kate's going to have a mystery guest tomorrow. I don't know anything about the mystery guest. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow. It'll be 22 hours and 58 minutes from now. And until then, Scott?
We can't have fun anymore, and we also can't have Kate anymore.
Ever.
Ever. Maybe if we make this a not Kate week, maybe she'll show up.
Yeah.
But we can have new hosts, even if it's 1.5 new hosts. And so we're thrilled about that.